Hello, I'm Stan Stalnaker with Hub Culture, and we're at the World Climate Summit in Durban, South Africa. Joining me right now is Charlie Roberts from Greenstar, a really interesting business that's looking at, I guess, climate innovation and almost responsibility in the green sector. Why don't you tell us a little bit about why you're here in Durban and what you guys are up to?
Absolutely. So Greenstar is it's actually a non-profit social enterprise set up really to break down the barriers between consumers and all the hardcore numeric carbon information that's coming out of large companies. Historically, the problem has been that there's been a huge amount of this numeric information being collected by CDP and others, but it's not really been getting out to consumers or press in a meaningful, comparable way.
And CDP is the Carbon Disclosure Project, which is a group that is helping companies calculate the amount of carbon that they emit, right?
That's right. They've really changed the whole space. They came up with a very clever model of getting lots of signatory investors, so some of the largest investors in the world, to sign essentially a petition which they then send out to a lot of the large companies, asking them to disclose their emissions year on year, and they've now been going through about 10 years. And they've really changed the whole space. They've now got several thousand companies sending in their emissions. And then, so we take that data, and the aim, we then do a process of like-for-like, apples-to-apples comparison, adjusting the information for the size of the companies so that we can get it out and convert it into really very simple consumer-facing stars. So if you like, a kind of Michelin star for the climate, with the aim of having the effect of fair trade, if you like, but for the environment.
So hence the name Green Star.
Green Star, very simple, does what it says on the tin.
Right. So how many stars can a company get?
Companies can get up to 5. 5 is best in class. And it's really within sector. So even certain airlines can have 5 stars if they are leading their sector and they're really driving the race to reduce and become more efficient.
Are there any 5-star airlines?
There are. To actually show you, I'd probably best looking them up rather than, I know Cathay is.
Cathay Pacific?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the kind of things, I mean, within each sector, there are certain things that a company can do. So airlines is a good example because they're slightly limited, right? But they can certainly invest in newer, more efficient fleets. They can increasingly invest in the really lighter carbon fiber jets like the Boeing Dreamliner that's coming out. There are a whole lot of things going on with biofuels. They can invest in improved scheduling and much more efficiency.
So those are affecting their carbon footprint, but do you guys look at it on a per capita basis or a gross basis? It must be somehow scaled to the size of the company, because if I have 10 million passengers, my carbon footprint is obviously going to be larger than if I have 2 million passengers. So do you look at it like the carbon footprint per passenger?
Absolutely. So that's a really good question. So we take a past, present and future view, and all of that is adjusted for the size and activity of the company. So for instance, one of our main metrics on looking at adjustment for airlines is per revenue passenger kilometre, which is an industry standard measure for activity. So that's one of the denominators on the equation. So part of the present efficiency, the efficiency today, is emissions per revenue passenger kilometre. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
What about, are you doing this in consumer goods? Like packaging, like, you know, your pasta or your Coke or your other things like this? We
are doing all at the company level. So one of the areas that we can do that a lot of other eco-labels can't do are things like insurances and airline travel, which isn't readily doable for products. But we are doing consumer goods companies at the company level again. Mm-hmm. So we've got cosmetics line. We've not got consumer staples, which we learned about last night.
Who's at the bottom? Who has the least stars?
Well, so our system is a carrot.
Who sucks?
Our system is a carrot, not a stick, if you like. So we really publish on 3, 4, 5 stars, which are all above average. Mm. We don't publish at this point on 2-star, 1-star, or no star.
So average would be 3 stars, and so if you're not named, you basically suck.
3 stars is actually above average. Yeah, it's just above the line.
Okay.
If you like. So if you're not named, that either means you didn't make the grade, you're in a sector we didn't analyze yet because there's not enough data, or
you haven't submitted.
Right, or you haven't submitted, and that's actually the most usual thing, because the company hasn't submitted data. But that's almost a proxy for poor performance, in the same way that good reporting is a proxy for good performance.
And do you pull all of your data from CDP?
Most of our data comes from CDP. Lots of the data also companies put out themselves online on their CSR reports.
Right. And how many companies are you guys tracking?
We're just under 100 for our last rating set. It will be a little more than that for the next year. And we're taking it wider.
When did it begin?
We only went live in beta earlier this year.
Oh, so it's brand new.
April, yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. And so where do people go to find this information?
Well, funny you should ask that. I can show you. No, we have one of the main ideas was how can we get this information out really wide and make it ubiquitous so that people can actually see it. So we partnered up with a search engine called Ecosia, which everyone should use anyway, because it gives just as good searches as any other search engine, but donates 80% of its revenues to WWF rainforest protection programs.
Oh, cool.
And it aggregates results from Bing and Yahoo, so the search is as good as any of those.
All right.
So this is our partnered search engine. So if we put in the name of a company, say, that I know has stars, like, say, Novartis, the big pharma company in Switzerland, and I search them, so you can actually see our Greenstar right there on search.
Oh, cool.
Right here, and it says Greenstar Award, and you know that.
Wow, so you're embedding it right into search, so you know if it's a good company or not. Right. Wow, that's great.
Absolutely. So this is the first time this has ever been done, this type of rating.
So we need to get this onto Google.
Well, that will hopefully happen at some point. So I'm just clicking through the stars, and it will go to our site, where Novartis is shown as a 4-star company, and then we're just building out the features to tell you a bit more about that, where they feature on past performance, present performance, and future performance at the moment. And then there's our homepage here. So we've showed this to some of the senior people at Google, and we are talking to them over time. I mean, one of the main things we're working on is building out this proof of concept so it's fully ready to go for the big time. And also allying with some of the big climate nonprofits, including WWF and NRDC. We're talking to all those people. Very cool. So there's our homepage there. There's a little video of me presenting at TED this year.
Our happy Greenstar. Okay, so how does the company go about submitting? They have to submit to CDP first, and then it sort of flows through to you?
So as it stands, the big companies submit to CDP first, and then we can pick up out of there. In future, we want to build out features so smaller companies can have access to this kind of system as well. So we'll be working with software providers who can actually provide smaller companies with carbon accounting software. And that's one of the things we've been talking about a lot during this summit. So we're working closely with Carbon War Rooms, for whom we provided a lot of the analytics to power the Gigaton Awards.
So the Gigaton Awards are these awards that recognize the leaders in climate CO2 reductions.
Exactly. So this year, the Gigaton Awards were based out of the Carbon Disclosure Project Global 500. So with the idea that really for gigaton scale reductions, what you want to be doing is working with big companies to do percentage change reductions, at which point huge amounts of emissions are reduced. So we powered a lot of the work with that, working with CDP on one side and with Carbon War Rooms on the other. We did our apples to apples, like for like comparison on the nominees to break down into a very much narrower shortlist so that the judging panel could finally decide.
So green stars are the new gold stars.
That's one way to look at it.
Right. Okay. Great. Thanks very much, Charlie. Really appreciate it. I'm Stan Stalnaker with Hub Culture, and once again, we're here in Durban, South Africa, at the World Climate Summit.